So, on to serious subjects here. And I am going to talk about, briefly, the crime trends in our city. I'll talk about the riot, and I'm going to end up with talking about my favorite subject, the people that work in the Vancouver Police Department and how they go beyond the call. The first slide I'm going to show you is how we're doing with crime, especially in relation to the rest of Canada. And don't worry about the small print, but you'll see two lines there. One is the blue line, how the VPD is doing, and the red line is the average of Canada. And we do have a strategic goal to make Vancouver Canada's safest major city. So one thing you'll notice is while crime is falling elsewhere in Canada, the good news is it's falling in Vancouver faster. Look at the gap the first year in 2004 compared to the gap in 2010. We are falling faster than the national rate. Now, you might have heard about bad publicity. Vancouver called the bank robbery capital of Canada, Vancouver, all those terms. We're heartened because, of course, we do want Vancouver to have a safe reputation, that even the national media, Maclean's Magazine, is talking about the successes that we're having in our city. This is from Maclean's Magazine just a few weeks ago, and they talk about how the crime severity index is dropping faster, in fact twice as fast as what's happening elsewhere in Canada. So the good news is we're falling faster. The bad news is we still are above the Canadian average. So there's a ways to go, especially to catch up to major cities like Toronto and Montreal. And so the investment in policing is still very, very important. Now, I did promise to talk about the Riot investigation, and I think I might explain a little bit why all the media are here today. But I think you're all familiar with the lead up to the riot itself. And I'll start off by saying we policed 24 playoff games, and we used the same strategy we used during the Winter Olympics, meet and greet. We facilitated people having a good time, and people were generally responsible. It was a fun time for our city. And then we had Game 7 of the final round, and on that day, here's what we saw in the early afternoon. Just look at the number of people that, it surprised us how many people showed up. The SkyTrain was bringing in 500 people every 90 seconds. And they arrived, they overwhelmed the security checkpoints. We weren't able to interdict illegal drinking. And so that crowd was getting drunker and drunker as the afternoon went on. We all know that just after the third period ended, the riot broke out. And one thing I'll point out is the Vancouver police officers and our policing partners from around the region that came to support us, and there's chiefs from those police agencies that are here today that helped us, as well as the RCMP. We were able to suppress that riot in about 3 hours. So the riot in '94, this riot we had was 3 times larger, and it took about 6 hours. So despite being 3 times bigger, we suppressed it in half the time, and the credit to that goes to the frontline police officers that put their safety in the line to suppress the riot, as well as the officers out there in command situations. The picture I just showed you is staggering in terms of numbers of people there. And I think a lot of people figured out, I'm safe hiding in this crowd. There's anonymity here. But what we're finding and what we're telling those people is there is no place you can hide. This picture is actually from a website. If anyone's interested, I can give you the place to go. And these are high definition cameras. So if you look at that tree in the middle of the picture, in the foreground, you can zoom into the base of the tree, and this is how clear some of those images can be. Here's another picture that is of a rioter, and maybe some of you have seen that picture, similar ones in the newspaper or on TV. Probably not noteworthy, right? The guy's taking a tear gas canister, throwing it back at the police lines. Well, here is what is noteworthy. Watch these circles appear. I'm counting 8 cameras of people behind that rider, recording it on video, on smartphones, or taking still pictures of that rider. Plus the 9th person who took that picture, and who knows who else was in the foreground as well. So that's the good news and the bad news. The good news is there's tremendous evidence that we can go through to identify riders in terms of investigating it and finding out who was responsible for that carnage and mayhem. The good news is that exists. The bad news is it exists, and there's so much volume that what do we do? How do we handle it all? Well, one of the reasons why there was a delay in bringing people before the courts and charging them is we want to do things the right way We wanted to make sure the evidence was assembled in a logical way that can stand up to the test of court. So we went to the video experts, and they said, you have to go to this laboratory in Indianapolis. It was set up with funding by the US Department of Homeland Security, and you need to catalog all that video. When we got down there, we thought we had 1,600 hours of video. That was incorrect. There was 5,000 hours of video, plus thousands of digital photographs, 30 terabytes. The equivalent is 7,500 DVDs. Massive amount, and we had to literally create a Google search engine so we can go through all that video. Let me explain that by just using an example, our infamous white belt rider. Because if we just had that picture as evidence and somebody said, I know who that man is, this is his name, we bring him in, and his answer to us was, I just touched that dress. That's the front window of the bay. Okay, we're saying that you broke the window and stole the dress, but how do we prove that from one picture? If we took that picture to court and he got up and stand and told the judge, I just touched it, I didn't steal it. Well, very good chance of acquittal. Yeah? People think that? Of course we need to get more evidence before we go to court. Now I'm going to turn to the investigator and say, here's the equivalent. Picture this room, 7,500 DVD titles on bookshelves. Go through all those DVDs and find other evidence of this person committing riotous acts. That would take years. Think of the inefficiencies. That's why we went to the University of Indiana laboratory. We cataloged it all. So now, because we process it, we put it into the computer system, and the system we use is called Avid, same system used in TV newsrooms. We can go to the computer and say, and punch in terms. Blue jeans, white belt, black hoodie, Caucasian male, 25 years old. And all of a sudden we get 10 video clips and 5 video or still images. And then the investigator only has to search through 15 video clips that are in the computer right in front of them, not 7,500 DVDs on the shelves. Just imagine how efficient that is. And when we did that for this individual, we found video footage of him stealing that dress, and he's running down the street yelling and hooting and hollering, and he takes that dress and throws it into a burn pile. So this person has been charged, rioting, participating in a riot, break and enter, which is looting, as well as arson, because he's starting fires. And that was why it was important for us to do this right. You know, we want to do things fast, we want to do it right, but if you can't have both, we're going to do things right. There was lots of media criticism, and what's taking so long? You're not holding rioters accountable. And I had to defend the VPD. I had to defend investigators who were just working very, very hard, trying to do the right thing. And one thing I said was, you know, if we rush these cases, you're going to see acquittals, you're going to see very light sentences. And when I was saying that, I was talking in the hypothetical. Well, what I didn't know was there actually was a real case that was rushed through the courts. And what happened is the Surrey RCMP had a guy who admitted he had stolen swimwear from a store on Granville Street, looted from the store. He was bragging to friends. He was arrested. He was charged with possession of stolen property. So it was his first offense. That case was processed 3 days after the riot, so it was taken to court quickly. Well, in the normal course of things, or timeline, it didn't even get to court until November. In November, this person pled guilty to possession of stolen property, no record. The sentence was absolute discharge. Absolute discharge means nothing. It means no community service, not even a letter of apology to the store owners or employees. It is nothing. So it kind of proved my point. And there was one newspaper that actually had this headline. Yeah, it kind of was a little indication. Told you so. So even though I was talking in the hypothetical beforehand, I didn't know there was a real case. So I believe that proved our point. Anyways, we are still pursuing these rioters. We're going to have more pictures on our websites very shortly. We're looking for creative things to do. And one of the examples of some creativity we applied to this was the Riot Roundup poster. And this was an idea where we took our volunteers to distribute 35,000 copies of this. And I was by Langara College the other day, and it's still posted on the walls of Langara College. I talked to a group of SFU students recently, and there's 200 of them in the room. And I said, anybody see this poster? And they said to me, well, no, we don't hang around people that would commit rioters. You know, we're studious people who are in the books all the time. And I said to them, well, remember when you were in grade 12 and some guy would come up to you and steal your lunch, make fun of your haircut, make fun of your clothes, and it's in the principal's office twice a week? There's a very good chance that guy is on this poster.